Hi and welcome to the Careers Stories podcast. My name is Joe and I'm joined by my wonderful colleague Carrie.
Hello.
We are both careers advisors for Skills Development Scotland, and we are excited to bring you episode 4 of this brand new podcast where we're going to be talking to people from all different walks of life and their roles and what they do, their kind of passion for getting to that position they're in now, what that journey's looking like for them, and really kind of dig deeper for you guys to understand, you know, what it could be like for you in the future.
Find out the little behind the scene bits where people don't really imagine what that actually looks like as that job. So we're really looking forward to speaking to different people. This is our 4th episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting there. We're trying to find our feet. So yeah, it's really good. And last time we've spoken to some really great people so far. I think my favourite so far might, by a tiny bit, be Brittany, because she works at the zoo and we got to speak about sloths. I really enjoyed that. I might have enjoyed that more than you.
Yeah, you're definitely an animal person, I can see that. But no, it's great for us because we've spoke to really some inspiring women. Now we get the guys, which is great.
Yep.
Well, I'm delighted to introduce today's guest is the wonderful, talented Sean O'Connor.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So Sean's been acting from a young age and you've appeared in TV, film and even the odd music video over the last decade.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That was just recently, actually. It was fun. It was one of the ones that it's one of the ones you've got on your bucket list there that you kind of want to do. Yeah. So that was an interesting one. I only done that a couple of months ago, actually.
Oh, there you go. We're very up to date with our fact checking. So you're probably best known as for your time as Dylan Christie in River City, and we'll maybe hear a little bit more about your experience shortly. And then obviously there's sad news we heard last month of it being cancelled.
Yeah. That's sad.
Yeah.
That's up.
It's like, it's one of those things you've grown up with this on and suddenly it's not there. So, yeah.
And I'm going to say that I was obviously an avid watcher of every single episode because that's what you're supposed to say. And you were my favourite character, of course. So, yeah, no, big fan of it. But obviously, alongside the screen, you've got a passion for developing the next generation of Scottish talent and your role as a coach at Theatre School Scotland.
Yes, that's correct, yeah. So I joined the Theatre School of Scotland about 4 years ago now, kind of on and off in between when I was working and when I wasn't. And it actually became just after I'd left River City, because obviously I'd just kind of left a job that was quite, what's the word I'm looking for, quite consistent. And then you kind of leave it and you go into panic mode and you're going, oh no, what am I going to do next? And obviously when I was younger I was taught by acting coaches. I was at Glasgow Acting Academy for 10 years, so it was a kind of form of development that I was familiar with, and I thought maybe there's something that I can give to this. So I contacted them, they got me in, kind of trained me up on, you know, all the kind of necessary things that you need to do to be a teacher and teach young kids how to do performing arts. And yeah, 4 years later, I've kind of become a lot more experienced in it. You kind of realise how actually rewarding the experience is, and it's a bit of it's a strange experience because, like I said, that was what I used to do when I was younger, and then being in that position of kind of not authority, but like being the one that's kind of passing the torch almost, which is of course what you want to do. There's so much talent in Scotland, so much talent, and it's such a lovely thing to be a part of and to see them, number one, enjoying themselves, 2, building their confidence, and 3, showing off the talent that they've got, because like I said, there is so much of it in this country.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the reason I was looking forward to this one, because I feel like I was definitely more of the performance artsy kid, tried things in school, did pantos at the pavilion and stuff, but also feel like it's one of those industries that kids are scared to go down because of how, I guess, difficult the journey could look like, and also maybe the success rate, and probably there's a stigma around it and the kind of work that needs to go into it. So like, kind of going back to your starting part, I guess, for us, because we work as careers advisors in school. So we usually see those early kind of stages of like S1, S2s where you can see they're really passionate about something, then they get to S6 and they start to have realistic thoughts around, you know, is it going to work, is it not going to work? So how early was it for you that you thought, right, this is definitely something I want to take?
To be fair, I was quite fortunate that it ended up really early on. It wasn't something that was just an organic thing where I was like, well, this is what I want to do. I think my dad and my mum and dad had tried me in everything. They tried football. I can't play football at all. I'm a massive fan of it, but I just can't play it. I've not got a left foot, so that wasn't going to happen, which obviously devastated my dad. Then they tried me in like basketball. I think they tried me in taekwondo at one point. None of it was for me. And then they'd put me into a kind of small theatre group. This must have been when I was only like 7 or 8, must have been. Put me into a small theatre group in, I think it was Eastwood, Eastwood Park Theatre Group. And I did a production. It was like a wee production of the story of the 3 blind mice, and I played one of the mice. And obviously my mum absolutely loved that. And then it was one of those things that just kind of kept going and kind of kept enjoying it. Obviously at that age you're not really seriously thinking about it as this is what I want to do as a career. But like I say, as it went on, it was something that I really enjoyed. It was something that I wanted to stick at, that's something that I actively looked forward to going to every week. And then kind of moved to different drama schools through that, ended up getting new experiences through that. And then once I got to about 12, maybe 13 maybe, I might have got that wrong, but around about that age was when I realised, okay, this is something that I think I'm good at, and something that I really enjoy doing, and something that there's a passion starting to grow for this. And then it just kind of steamrolled from there. That the acting academy, Glasgow Acting Academy that I was in at the time, had an agency through it. A kind of sister kind of partner company there, so I was then part of the agency. Done a couple of adverts, which was my first time ever on a set. So that was I did the remember the SPL stickers. Like football book stickers, so you would collect like players and you would buy the packs and all that stuff. So I done the ad for that 2 years in a row.
Brilliant.
Which was really fun. And then I got my first kind of proper TV job on Frankie Boyle's Tramadol Nights. Which was interesting. That was interesting for a 12, 13-year-old boy. And it's mental looking back on it now, but obviously a really, really brilliant experience. And then it just kind of steamrolled for there. So.
And was that like, so when you mentioned obviously a lot of outside of school, kind of, I guess, the academy and stuff like that as well. Yeah. Was there any support in school? Was there drama as a school subject for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think when I was in primary school, it was definitely there, and I was always I was a bit of a class clown at school, so I always loved being the centre of attention, which a lot of actors often do. So that was something I was often into, and all the school shows, I was always a pretty prevalent part of them, because I just really wanted to be, and I really enjoyed it. When I went up to high school, that it didn't waver slightly, but I had higher drama in high school up until a point, and then unfortunately my high school didn't do, not higher drama, intermediate 1, intermediate 2, which I don't know what that is now. And then unfortunately my high school didn't run higher drama, which I was obviously gutted about, but I kind of spoke to my head teacher, spoke to the pastoral support teacher, and made them aware that this was something I really wanted to do. I think they knew that anyway, because I was doing the odd jobs. I was getting time off school to go to auditions and do all these other stuff, which thankfully they were really, really supportive of. And what I had to end up doing was I had to go and get a taxi up to St Luke's, which was the other school in Barrhead, which was just kind of, I mean, you're talking like a 4 or 5 minute drive away. So I would have 2 periods where I would have to go and get a taxi up there and then get a taxi back to do my higher drama up at St Luke's. So thankfully there was still an avenue for me to do it. It wasn't just like, no, we don't run it, and that's kind of it. So yeah, like I say, they were really, really supportive, and then I went up and done my higher drama there, and did my other exams at my regular school, and then that was me before I went off to college.
There you go. So when you were going on, because like if we look at almost career journey, like it might be a bit different. Your career journey might be a lot different to other people's. Yeah. So would you say, is there like going from school? What did that look like? Where did you go after, and like what were you doing were you doing jobs alongside college and stuff? Or? Yeah. I was the first job that I had was I was working in so there was a new ASDA built in Barrhead. It was quite a big thing at the time. And I ended up getting a job in there, so I was one of the first employees in there, and I was kind of working there while I was doing my hires. So I done higher English and drama, because that was the kind of those were the ones I knew that I wanted to do. I kind of knew what college I wanted to go to as well through the acting academy, which was obviously out with school. I was encouraged to go there because it was a really practical course. So I did my higher English and higher drama. Once I got them, I left school and went straight to college, and I went to New College, Lanarkshire.
So I did a year in Motherwell and then 2 years in Coatbridge. And yeah, through that time, you're kind of working odd jobs. I ended up working, I've had quite a few kind of jobs. Often after I left Asda, they've always ended up kind of hospitality, which I think is just because, I think it's something that I kind of enjoy as much as you can with these jobs, you know what I mean? So I was doing that while I was at college, and thankfully I was really, really fortunate to be getting acting jobs while I was in college as well. So I did my 3 years at college. In the first year I did a BBC drama called One of Us, which was my first kind of, from going from that 12, 13-year-old to then kind of 17, 18-year-old, where you think you're an adult and you're definitely not. That was my kind of first big TV job, big paycheck and all that kind of stuff, which I then spent within like a week because you've not got a clue how to save and all that kind of stuff. So I did that, and then it was my second year that I ended up doing Still Game. So again, really, really fortunate to get that opportunity. And then my third year, I actually missed a lot of my third year at college because I was away for a couple of months shooting Schemers, which is my first ever feature film that I'd done, which we shot up in Dundee. So yeah, I was really, really lucky to get the opportunities that I've had. And I think, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of stigma around that kind of the line of work and how difficult it is to break into the industry. And it is, there's no point sugarcoating it. It's really, really difficult, mainly because every year there's X amount of classes of actors and musical theatre performers coming out and dancers and all these things coming out, and then just being crammed into the same industry where sometimes the opportunities aren't growing, but the more people going for the same opportunities are. So it is definitely a really difficult industry to break into. So I really try I try not to take it for granted, the opportunities that I've managed to have. I mean, to be learning while at college and then also being able to be on sets and learning, and I think that is, like when I'm teaching the kids, that's another thing I say to them. I think the best way to actually learn how to conduct yourself on a set, how to behave and how to do your job, to do what you're paid to be there to do, is to just go out there and do it. So yeah, I was very, very lucky that I got to do all those different wee bits while I was still there. It's
definitely advice I always say to kids that are doing like drama and they think about wanting to do acting, performance or musical theatre, and I'm like, are you in any school outside? Are you doing any form of like acting away from school? Actually quite common. You hear obviously yes, some are yes, but a lot are no. And I'm like, but the only way you're going to get it or understand the environment is put yourself there
100%.
and feel uncomfortable. I think, because
definitely.
I'm sure there's a lot of environments like that first is like, oh my goodness, what have I walked into? Like you mentioned there, obviously some of the kind of, when you start to get some of your bigger roles and stuff, I imagine that set's even different from when you're doing like, your adverts, when you're doing your like everything. Maybe not expectation or pressure or anything like that, but you're going, oh right, this is different. Yeah,
100%. You feel the jump, and I think the jump kind of comes, it's more on the scale of it. Like going from doing, a couple of adverts and then that one wee sketch on the Frankie Boyle show to then being on this set of this kind of a lot bigger budget BBC One drama, which, as you guys know, are watched by a lot of people. So the budget is there, the team's there, the crew's massive, the sets are bigger, and you're just doing more kind of high octane stuff, especially on that one. Like the character I was playing was actually a drug dealer. Great first big role. It was actually a drug dealer, so I had scenes where I was being chased by the police and all that stuff. So it was really big kind of high action stuff. And a lot of the times with these things, when you're a role that's maybe considered significant within the production, but you're not a lead role, you don't get a lot of rehearsal or any rehearsal. So I didn't really get any rehearsal for that. It was just kind of, you get sent your scripts, you get sent your sides, you get sent your call time, you get sent your call sheet, and then you get picked up in the morning and that's you. And so you are kind of flung in at the deep end. And I'll talk more about that when we come to River City as well, because that was also a pretty, just given with how the volume of what they shoot in the space of a few months is massive. So that again was another big jump. But yeah, you definitely do feel you feel the steps forward. But again, I think it's something that's can only be beneficial for you. I think if you can withstand it, that kind of the anxiety of just being flung in at the deep end and just go and do it, then I think it stands you in good stead for the future.
Yeah, I think as well, when you think about it, there's so many experiences in your life where you're going into that first day, that sort of, everyone, you get that first, like when I first became a careers advisor, when I first moved down to the Borders, where you've got all these different things where it's the first day meeting new people and you get that anxiety, whereas in your career, that's all the time. Whereas, you know, with us, how often are we having to go into a new place and meet new people?
Like hosting a podcast.
But
exactly.
like, you know, it's that thing. It's like you're meeting new, like obviously as our job, we're meeting different pupils all the time, but that's what we like to do. Whereas when you're going into a new workplace and being part of that and having to get on with people and things like that, that's something that you would have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Do you know what? It genuinely is the exact same thing, like you say, like whether it's, you know, public sector or whatever job you're going to when you're stepping into a new job, it's the exact same. The only difference is the people are louder and more in your face.
I don't know, you haven't worked in a school.
There's some characters there as well, but it's great. And like, so what about, just curious as well, see, being a Scottish actor as well, just from, I guess, being a movie fan and stuff, I always feel like we are grossly underrepresented generally
100%,
in a lot of TV, and usually you have to transition yourself into not being Scottish and having to improve maybe other parts of your abilities, whether it's accents, whether it's things like that as well. What do you feel like in terms of your journey so far? Like, have you had to improve, I guess, to give yourself that extra 10% over maybe somebody else?
100%, yeah. I think you're always improving. I think if you ever get to a point where, actually, a drama teacher that I had way back when I was younger said to me that if you think you've learned everything, you may as well just give it up, because you're always going to be constantly learning, because it's something that I think demands a certain sort of authenticity and that kind of organic feel, whereby you're working with different people all the time. And when you're working with actors, it really needs to be a two-way street. You can't be a selfish actor, because that's just not going to get the best out of the scene. It's not going to get the best out of the performance. So I think you're always kind of need to be on your toes a wee bit in terms of adjusting to how other people work, and then adjusting the way that you work to kind of fit the way that they work. Do you know what I mean? Things with, like you mentioned, accents and stuff there. That BBC drama, One of Us, I did one audition, and which has actually became a running theme through everything that I seem to audition for, is the main note that I'll get from a director or a casting director is, can you just soften your Glasgow accent just a wee touch, please? Because, I mean, for BBC, it's going out to the UK. So, and unfortunately, you need to kind of, you just need to kind of soften it a wee bit. So that's kind of became a running theme of my career for pretty much everything that I auditioned for. Because a lot of them, they'll ask for your own accent first, unless the role is explicitly Mancunian or Irish or one of these things. They'll ask for your own accent first, and then if they want to change it, they can. So you definitely need to be on your toes with that sort of thing.
It's a good job I'm not an actor. Nobody would understand. They'd be like, what is she saying? I get that from pupils all the time. They're like, where are you from? Like, so it's having to change your accent. But then I think as well, when you're saying about like the different opportunities, and when we've got pupils who are interested in, they want to go into acting and stuff, one of the things I always say, because I think people have an idea that they're going to go to their careers advisor and they're going to say, I want to be an actor, and we're going to go, no, definitely not, which is not what we're about. And I think it's I always say to people, will you wonder forever if you don't try it? Because the very, very worst case scenario is that you go and you try it and it doesn't work out, but you tried, and you can always say, I tried. Whereas if you don't try, you're always going to have that little bit at the back of your head going, what would have happened if I tried it? So, and even if you don't end up going into acting, studying acting can give so many skills for other things as well. And so, like, when you think about the skills involved in what you do, like, what would you say are the top ones that people should be thinking about or having?
Well, I think it comes back to the teaching thing as well. Like, I think that a lot of the kids that go to the theatre school that you know, or go to theatre schools anywhere, obviously, a lot of them are very young. Some of them are older, but I think there's obviously going to be ones there that are genuinely, this is what I really want to do, and they're really passionate about it. But there's also going to be ones that are there to maybe just build confidence, and I think that's probably the best thing. One of the best things that it provides is that kind of ability to build confidence. And you're often in a class with quite a lot of other kids, so. Again, you're stepping out your comfort zone, you're in an environment that you're not familiar with. And one of the most rewarding things for me is to see when someone new comes in and joins the class, and then you just see over the weeks them start to come out their shell a wee bit. And that's obviously something you're going to take into your future life and your adult life. If you can build that confidence from an early age, then I think it stands you in a brilliant stead. So in terms of skills that I think, you know, people to be thinking about. I would say probably communication's a massive one.
Yeah.
Like being able to communicate not just verbally but physically as well is such a big thing, because a lot of acting and a lot of performing is there's a lot of physicality work involved in it, and again just sort of working so much with different people who are totally different to yourself and totally different to the next person that's going to be in the room. So it's just about adapting and being able to communicate, I think, is something that I think is really valuable, especially for stepping onto a set where there's like multiple crew members and so many people and guys holding big things and lights and all that stuff. It can be quite overwhelming. So I think if you're able to communicate well.
Yeah, and I think you made a point there. I have a feeling that why acting is so difficult to pursue is because we notoriously don't like rejection, and it's probably one of the single most rejected job. And if you go for interviews, you might get some rejections, but eventually down the line you might eventually get that opportunity, and it maybe was 3 or 4 interviews. Whereas with acting, it could be a full year for some people if they're really struggling, of just constantly getting no's. You know, in terms of your journey, and I know obviously you had a little bit of downtime, now you're starting to pick it up again. How have you dealt with that part, I guess?
Well, I think I was quite lucky that I learned that lesson the hard way when I was really young. When I was about that 11, kind of 12, 13 age, I auditioned for it was a 4-part BBC drama, and it was called Single Father, and it was to play David Tennant's son. And I did 5 rounds of auditions, got down to the final 2. And when you're below 16, wherever you live, the council have to authorise a licence for you to go on a set. So anyway, I'd finished the last audition, and the casting director phoned my mum before I was getting up for school in the morning, phoned my mum and said, look, it's going to be him. They love him. Get his licence ready, phone the council. I'm going to phone you later in the day and confirm it, but it's going to be him. So my mum told me that.
Oh no.
And I went into school that day, told all my pals I was going to play David Tennant's son in this drama, and I was so buzzing. I was going to be on the telly and all these big things. And then by the time I'd got home, that way I walked in the house and I could just feel, I was like, what's going on? And my mum was like, they phoned and said that one guy at the BBC offices in London said that the other boy looked more like David Tennant. So they gave it to him. So I learned that lesson the hard way at quite a young age. And I think it's one of those things, people say that you kind of need to have a thick skin to go into it. I don't necessarily think you do. It's obviously a bonus, but I think I think that develops naturally. I think if you're getting told no a lot, which 90%, 95% of the time being an actor, you're going to get told no, especially for film and TV stuff, because it's all about a look. Like, you could be casting... they're going to have a very specific look for what they want for that role. It has to go through so many channels before you then get the offer. They could be casting a full family. You know what I mean? They could love you, but then they could cast someone as the mum and go, they don't look like each other at all, so then you need to get rid of you. And it's so it is quite a cutthroat thing. But I think the thick skin is something that you can definitely develop. For me, this past year, it's kind of been really quiet. I finished a tour kind of April last year, and since I'd left college 6 years running, I'd always had something, and I'd been really busy, which really lucky to have been able to do that, especially through COVID. Like, I was at River City when I was at COVID, which was so lucky, because I was probably one of the only group of actors in Scotland that were still getting to work under extreme COVID conditions, mind you, but I was still getting to work. So that was a massive kind of blessing, really. And so I finished that tour in April last year, and I was kind of getting towards the end of it, and I was like, something will come in. Something will come in. All right, it's getting a bit tight now. Something will come in. Then a month goes by, nothing. Then a month goes by, nothing. And I think it is a really difficult thing, especially when you've worked consistently for 6 years. But then I think one of the best things that you can do, and one of the things that I did to kind of keep myself in a healthy mindset, was to put myself in other people's shoes. You know, there are people out there who haven't had the opportunities that I've had and are still working to get that. And you know, it's almost like it could be a lot worse. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I almost think that's quite a healthy mindset to have with anything, never mind just this, is that it could always be worse. I think it's not always, you're never at rock bottom. There's always something that could happen. And also just the idea that, like, I did so well to get up until that point, and it's almost like, okay, well then maybe this year it's just not my time anymore. But it will come back around. I think if you have the level of passion and the level of love for this career that that I have. It's just something that I just wasn't able to turn off to sit and go, maybe this isn't for me. And don't get me wrong, the thought does enter your mind, and when it does enter your mind for the first time, it's quite a scary thing to be like, this is the first time I've ever thought this. What does this mean? And you kind of get really in your head about it. But I think the best thing to do, and it's obviously easier said than done, and it sounds a bit cliche and cringy, but just stay positive, really, and just, you know, take stock of what you've been able to do up until this point, take stock of where you are, and take stock of the circumstances surrounding it, like the actor strike and the writer strike and the backlog that cast. And like, it's not just been a quiet time for me, it's been a quiet time for everyone in the industry. Last year was pretty brutal for a lot of people, and so that's a nice thing as well, when you've got that sense of community that you know it's not just you. So it's just about keeping the heat. Do you know what I mean? And staying strong and hanging in there, and knowing that something will come back around at some point. And if you love it as much as I do, then the advice that I would say to anybody is don't make any knee-jerk decisions about things. Just ride it out, ride the wave.
I think that's a good lesson for anything as well. Like, so many people, like, you can make these knee-jerk decisions, and then you're forcing yourself into a box almost of saying, like, right, I need to do something, so I'll just do this. Whereas actually just taking that step back for a minute and taking stock of where you are and what you've done and where you want to be can have that positive impact on what is next.
Definitely. And another thing that I would encourage as well is, actually, I know quite a lot of people who have been actors and have worked quite consistently for a good few years, and then it's been really, really quiet, and they've went and travelled. And that's something that I kind of wish, I probably will do at some point, because I've not, me personally, I don't think I've travelled around the world as much as I quite like to. And I think it's the kind of ideal thing. If you've got a bit of a period of downtime, it's like, go take the year out and go and travel the world and see things. Because all of that is, anything that you do in life, anything that's a big life experience, I think makes you a better actor as well.
Yeah.
Like, the more things you experience, the more knowledge you're going to have of different cultures and different things in life. So I think it's only beneficial. So that is something that I would encourage as well. It's something that I'm probably going to do at some point. But I just know that for a lot of actor pals that I've got, it's something that they've done, and it's something that's been really beneficial for them to kind of also take yourself out of the kind of fishbowl a wee bit and just clear the head, really, because that is required. You really do need to take time for your
Well, you talked about like perspective though, right? So let's talk about obviously one of your bigger roles in River City, like, because the perspective, I imagine that call coming in, you were like, oh, like this is good now. This is like, because that would have been like you mentioned, like a proper, you know, setup where obviously that you were there for obviously a little period of time.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it was a funny story. I was working in Pizza Hut at the time, and I'd got the audition, and I think I'd went for like 4 auditions, and then I'd got down to the final 2. And I knew it was the final 2 because I turned up to the last audition was at River City Studios, and there was only one other guy in the room with me. And do you know, I'm not even shy of saying it. I remember sitting there and going, I've got this, man. This is mine. I've got this. And then I went in the room, smashed the audition, walked out, and then a week went by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Long story short, it was 2 months before I then found out. And I then found out, once I was there, off the producers, that the reason for that was because they'd cast someone to play my mum, and she pulled out last minute. But they really wanted to keep me, so they spent another month trying to find someone else who
went
me.
with you.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, that's brilliant, because they could have easily just went, right, scrap the 2 of them and get 2 other people that work. So thank you, River City producers. And yeah, so like 2 months went by, and I was kicking myself because I was really confident. I was sitting there, I was going, I've smashed that, man. And then 2 months go by, and I think another general rule of thumb that I always kind of like to stick to is kind of 2 week rule. If I don't hear by 2 weeks, put it to the back of your mind and move on to the next one, because you'll drive yourself crazy. So 2 months going by, and I'm working in Pizza Hut, and that was when my agent phoned me when I was on shift. It was like apron off. I was like, see ya. No, I never. I finished my shift because I felt bad. My conscience wouldn't let me.
Like, can't leave people running about.
I know. No, definitely not. But yeah, it was a bit of a mad moment to go into my manager at the Pizza Hut and be like, by the way, I've just got this partner River City. And he was like, oh my God, amazing. So you're leaving? I was like, yep.
Bye.
See you later. But no, again, they were all really, really supportive. And then it was like 2 weeks later, and I started.
How long did you do the role for again?
I was on it for just over 2 years.
So that's quite a long time to have in a role. Like, it must feel like, I don't know, you feel like almost like a coat you put on or something. Like, you know what I mean? That's that character, and that's your
Yeah,
You know it very well.
100%. Yeah, it's an interesting thing because obviously you develop it over time. You have an idea when you're in the audition of who that guy is, and I had a very, very clear idea, and I think I was quite that. I think at the time that was what they were looking for. I think River City, obviously, there's a lot of high stakes, high drama stuff that goes on in River City, and I don't really think they had a kind of that kind of cheeky chappy character, and I think they'd been looking for that for a while, and so that was something I was obviously really happy to be, because it's fun. Do you know what I mean? It's fun. It's lighthearted, and it's a really good laugh on the set, and over the 2 years, it's interesting because obviously storylines change, and then towards the end of my time, my character kind of ended up going a bit of a darker route, which was great because it gave me the scope to do something that was a lot more emotional and a lot more just the total under end of the stick from what I had been doing for the time. The only kind of downside to that was that it was during COVID, so obviously the COVID restrictions and stuff like that were in. But yeah, that was the first time I'd played, and it's the one character that I've played for the longest time, and probably will remain that for a while because it's not often that you get to play the same guy for that long.
So was there a fear of like maybe having that one role for so long that you become, there's especially in the acting world, when someone does something for so long, sometimes to get rid of that, that persona of who that person is, and know that you've got more tools in your arsenal, that isn't just you, and that you've got, was that a concern for you at any point, like, or were you just kind of still in that honeymoon period of just enjoying the experience?
I think so. I think the producers were always very open and honest. It's a wonderful place to work, and it really is, and that's why I think it's such a shame that it's been cancelled, as well as the fact that I do think it's one of the only, it's a Scottish institution, and I think it's one of the only places in Scotland in this industry that consistently gives opportunities to people from working class backgrounds, which is why I think it's going to be such a massive loss. But at the time, the producers were really, really open and honest with me. They told me they had a 5-year plan for the character, and at the time I remember thinking, you're in a rock and a hard place, because you're like, I'm here, I'm in this really great job, but you have always got one eye on the future, and I'm like, do I want to be here for 5 years? I want to be here for a good amount of time, but do I want to be here for 5 years? But you just play it by ear in terms of that, and I think I was quite lucky that at the time, when that would maybe start to creep into my head of like, oh, I don't want people to think this is the only thing I can do, was when the storyline of when Dylan started to go down a bit of a darker path came in. So that gave me scope to kind of to explore something totally different with the character. So not for long, to be quite honest with you. It definitely did creep in. It's always something you think about. I think you've always got one eye on the future and then one eye on what you've just done. Do you know what I mean? And it could be a bit of a head wobble at times, but it's definitely something that goes into your head. But I then think that after I left River City, I then went into doing professional theatre for the first time, and thankfully within that, each character that I've played, I think I've done 5 professional plays now, and each character has been so vastly different from each other. So I managed to scratch that itch in that way.
And is there anything that you can tell us about what you're working on just now, or is coming up? Yeah,
at the moment, I'm actually really excited to do. So I'm potentially going to be working on a play which is something so vastly different to anything that I've ever done before, and not something that I ever envisioned myself doing. But it's actually a play that's been developed by a charity. Also kind of been developed with real prisoners. So the project is called Realities, and it's going to be what I would have to be doing 4 days development inside a prison with real prisoners as part of the project, which is I think at first glance it would be quite an intimidating prospect, but something I think is going to be really rewarding and a genuinely brilliant life experience. And then I would go into rehearsals, do the play once the script's been fully developed, and then we would tour it around prisons in Scotland with the kind of idea of, it's all to do with reform and all these different things. So not something that I'd ever imagined myself doing, but when it came through, it was something that I was immediately interested in. So I'm really looking forward to potentially doing that. And then thankfully auditions and stuff are really starting to pick up. So there's actually, it's a brilliant time to be a kind of young actor in Scotland. I'm at a bit of a sticky age where I'm 27, so I'm kind of too old now to play the parts that I used to play, but I'm too young to play the parts that I want to play. So, which does happen. But thankfully, there's so much stuff being made in Scotland at the moment. Like, it's a really, really great time to be in Scotland and to be in the industry in Scotland. Like Department Q on Netflix has been massive, and it's just been made with such a high quality. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of stuff coming to Scotland, which so it's a good time to be here, good time to be an actor.
Yeah,
in this country.
Definitely binged Department Q way too
I've
quickly.
not watched it yet, and everyone keeps saying about it.
It's really
good.
It's always good, I think, when you see things in your home, like your hometown or your home, like we're a small country, so when you see that obviously a lot of it is based here, it's quite a good. It's just a good, by the way, not just the fact it's Scottish, it's just a very good.
It's so well written, and it's a really good production value. It's great.
Yeah, I like when you see places and you're like, oh, I know where that is, and you're like, I've walked there, and
But Edinburgh looks gorgeous in it, like it really does. It's shot beautifully, and it's magic.
Oh, I'll need to. That'll be on my list tonight.
Get stuck on. It's a great watch. So then you mentioned obviously like what you're doing now, right? But when you were younger, right, you'd had probably future ambitions as a young guy, what you thought you wanted to be in the industry. But now you're 27 and you've had experience. What's that next? What's your next ambitions? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do, I guess?
In terms of where I want to go going forward, it's always about building and improving and making sure that the next job that you do is either something that's more interesting than the last or a different kind of interesting, maybe a better way to say it, and that it's going to develop you even further and make you keep going. So the aim is to just keep building on what I've already done. And in terms of where I want to get to, I want to get to the very top. Like, I really do. I want to be on the biggest screens and on the biggest stages and working with the very, very best in the industry. And I think, with the right work ethic and the right kind of opportunities coming my way, I think it is something that's definitely achievable. And I would tell everybody the same, like, put the work in and, put your head into it. And if you're passionate about it and you love it, and you really, really, really love something, go for it. Because like you said earlier, if you don't, then you're always potentially going to regret it. So,
And I think
reach for the stars and all that.
I love it.
To be fair, I would definitely say we do funnel that narrative as much as we can, because I feel like, kids at home and school, they have two different types of pressures. They have parental stability and hoping, it's probably more a European thing, get a job 9 to 5, get your money, you'll be fine. And then you've got teachers who are like, education's important, and we agree, that it can really steady you off in the right direction. But we lose that young naivety, which isn't a bad thing. The idea of aiming bigger, and I can be, people say I want to do a job, but it's very difficult to get to. But why? Well, if every actor thought that, we wouldn't have anybody in the movie scene. So like, you have to push yourself at a time where you maybe have support, hopefully at home, if your situation's good enough. Put yourself uncomfortable for a while.
I've had parents come to me at parents' evenings and say, can you please talk my daughter out of going into acting? And I'm like, no. Because I'll, like, if you want careers advice for you, I will give you careers advice for you, but I'm not going to push a narrative on your child. And of course, like, you've got to be, there's realisticness and there's all these sorts of things, and I'll have these conversations with people, but at no point will I ever be a dream crusher. That's not what I'm in this job to be. And I think actually sometimes when that's happened, it's made me want to encourage this person more, because they're not getting that encouragement at home.
Definitely.
So who's going to believe in them? So I don't want that. I've said to people, like, there's so many pupils that I've said to, like, when you're on TV and when you're getting interviewed and they say, oh, what did your careers advisor at school say? I want you to turn around and say, Carrie believed in me from the start, because I do. And I think that's so important, because, and I think we're really lucky to be in a position where we can support people and believe in them.
Yeah, 100%.
Because not everyone's got that. You were saying about your mum getting you to these auditions and things like that. Not everybody's got that, and I think that's so important. Just if there could be one person encouraging you, that can make all the difference. So that's what we kind of. That's really cheesy, but
definitely.
I agree.
I think we do, like, en masse. I think we need to push more people towards the arts, because whether it's music or whether it's dancing or whether it's painting or anything, like, I genuinely do believe that art has the power to change the world, and I think that's something that we could all probably do with at this present
definitely
time.
And when you look at during things like COVID, you're saying, like, obviously you were really lucky you were working throughout it. What were we obviously there was the emergency services going out and doing their work, and that was really, really important. what was it that kept people going though at home when they were at home? It was watching TV programs and
Exactly.
films and music, and there was
Yeah.
all these things that actually, I think it really showed the importance of the creative industry. So yeah, hopefully that can continue and people
Yeah.
can be inspired by that.
Yeah, and obviously that's hopefully, you know, getting to hear from you from the kind of good, bad and indifferent in terms of your experiences is really important, I think, because, you know, yeah, it's really important for a young person to watch someone like yourself or listen to someone like yourself and understand, especially in Scotland, you know, where that's who we're speaking to. So to see your journey and understand potentially how to improve, but also, you know, what to look out for. So, you know, it's been brilliant, like really, really good to talk to you.
No, thank you.
And to
you
be
guys.
honest, this is probably one of the ones I could do for 2 hours.
Oh, yeah,
like,
totally.
like there's so many questions that I would probably have, like just because it's
sheer
such
nosiness.
I think because being a big movie fan as well, I think there is just so much you don't get really the chance to see as much as you would maybe like to know, and particularly in the Scottish scene. So it's been really, really good for us. Obviously, this is going to be the most popular podcast in the world.
Obviously.
Guaranteed.
We'll need to know your agent.
Aye, of course, right. But no, but obviously you're on socials, I take it. Anyway, have you got socials? Do you let people follow you on your socials?
Yeah, definitely. I'm on.
Him.
See, you were quick.
was
You were
quick,
too fast.
I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook or X as it's called. I came off that pretty quickly. But I'm on Instagram, and it's _Sean_Connor.
Right.
Underscore.
And I've not seen your Instagram, right?
Oh, it's
But
really
I'm
good.
going. No, but I'm going
You
to put.
should
I'm going
have
to
been
put
on
a guaranteed shout that you've got your head picture from your acting as your main profile photo.
It is. It's not.
Oh no,
it's not. It's on. It's on my Instagram.
Right, okay.
When I get a new set done, I post them on my Instagram. But it's actually not.
Oh, see, I thought it would guaranteed.
No, there's a lot of actors do it. I don't know what it is. I could just prefer, because I use my Instagram for my personal life as well. I don't have a separate one. I don't know. I just prefer
being you.
I don't know, having a nicer
Rather
photo.
than-
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Not so
exactly, because they are. I mean, they're lovely photos when you get them done, and they're great, and they can be quite striking. But they're for a specific purpose. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like
not
they're
as
for-
Fransley.
Yeah, exactly. So hi.
Honestly, this has been so like Joe says, we could probably talk to you forever. But thank you so much. It's been so interesting. I think for people listening as well, it's so good to just get that little behind the scenes of like, people don't realise all the like bits and bobs that go on behind the career that they're thinking about. So it's really good to get that little bit more information and hopefully inspire people that it is a possible thing and that it is something that they can do. They just need to really want it and put themselves out there. And obviously there's luck, a little bit of luck involved in there as well.
Definitely.
But it's
Isn't there
fantastic.
everything?
Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.